Hey guys, Dr. Holly here, and I'm a Associate Professor of Medicine at the University of Colorado and Shoots Health and Wellness Center, and also co-founder of the transformational weight loss program Stay to Slim. And I'm here today because I want to do my week 3 kind of catch-up video. I know so many of you are watching the transformational process, the transformational journey that Larry and Kathy J are going on Jammin', and want to just do my weekly video to kind of catch you up on what's going on. First of all, they're killing it. We're ending week 3. We're about to go into week 4. A really important time. I love that they did this over the holidays. They decided to start this. Week 3 was Thanksgiving week, and they're really going to just soar through December. So many people don't like to start a program this time of year, and I actually think it's one of the best times because they're going to feel amazing when January of 2019 comes around. They're going to feel amazing. So they're killing it. One of the things is normally when you do Stay to Slim, we do it in teams of 15 to 20 people. That didn't really work with their schedule and some other things, so they're doing it together and they're doing it with me, but they don't have a team. So if you are watching their journey, if you're following their journey, if you're trying to learn or maybe be motivated or inspired from their journey, I encourage you to reach out to them, support them. They don't have that support that we normally have when we do these teams of 15 to 20 people. They can't pull on other people also going through Thanksgiving and going through the holidays just like they are. So reach out to them, especially if you are a Stay to Slimmer or if you just want to give them support as you watch them on their journey. So this was week 3, like I talked about. They've talked about how they really approached week 3 a little bit differently. We talk about the indulgence meal in week 3. One of the things that I think is super interesting is they're going through the same program, Stay to Slim, but their struggles are different, and you can really see it when they start talking about what is tripping them up and what they like. You see a very different path even for the same program, which is very typically what we see. We see different struggles. So it really is interesting to see both of them going through the same program, but having a really different journey when they're going through the exact same program. So back to week 3, it's all about the indulgence meal. You heard them talk a lot about it. So I want to just spend a couple minutes and talk about what is an indulgence meal and what it's not. And then more importantly, why do I include it? First of all, I call it an indulgence meal. I don't like it when they call it a cheat meal. That is not what it is. An indulgence meal, this is part of the program. It's something that's required. It's not optional. And you saw Larry not really liking that. That's not uncommon. You know, a lot of people have gone through phase 1, lost a lot of weight. They're not hungry. They're feeling good. They're feeling empowered. And they're like, why am I going to screw this up? I'm not about to go and do an indulgence meal. Things are going too well. But we need to, and I'll talk about why in a minute. It's part of the program. It's not a cheat. It is part of what you need to do, and it starts in week 3. So what is an indulgence meal? An indulgence meal is anything you want to eat, but it's a meal, I always say. It's not a day. It's not a weekend. You know, it's not an event. It is one meal. But the key with an indulgence meal is you have exactly what you want to have, and you plan it. It's not an unplanned eating occasion. It's not I was walking through the mall and I saw that burrito over there and I went and got a burrito really quick and I ate it and oops, I feel bad now and I'm gonna call it my indulgence. That's not an indulgence meal because you didn't plan for that to be the time that you were gonna have it. It's a planned meal. You have exactly what you want to have. Now you don't have to plan what you're gonna have, but you do need to plan when you're gonna have it. You are never more than 7 days away from having an indulgence meal, which I think is really cool. Anytime you want something, you are never more than 7 days away from being able to have it. So it's a planned eating event, right? A single event, but I always say you can have an appetizer, you can have a main meal, you can have a dessert, have it all. What I typically do is I love appetizers. I always have an appetizer, have a little entree, and then by the time I get to the dessert, I still want something, so I order it, but I usually have like 2 bites. So with an indulgence meal, another important thing is you enjoy every bite. It's not about how much you can eat. It's about having exactly what you want, looking forward to it. That's the planning part, right? Looking forward to it, having exactly what you want, slowing down and being super mindful and stopping before you get sick. Kathy J and Larry both talked about how their stomachs now are smaller and they couldn't eat as much as they used to. So you got to stop a little bit sooner and realizing you can have another meal in 7 days, right? It's not the last time you're going to be able to eat this. You don't have to eat everything on your plate, but you can if you need to. You can if you want, and that is really a key of the indulgence meal. So why do I do an indulgence meal? And like I said, it's not a cheat meal. It's an indulgence meal. It's a required meal. I always say, yes, you could lose a little bit more weight if you didn't have an indulgence meal. That might happen, but what are we really about with Stay to Slim? we're about keeping the weight off. We begin with the end in mind. We know what needs to be in place from a science standpoint, from my experience standpoint, that needs to be in place for people not to just lose a bunch of weight, but keep it off at the end. Indulgence meal is one of the things that we're starting to add in that I know is going to be helpful at the end. You cannot be on a restrictive diet forever. You've got to start to learn how to have some indulgences, some things you love. You're not going to be without birthday cake forever. You're not going to be without pizza forever. You're not going to be out, with whatever you love forever. You're not able to do that. So we're going to start introducing that during weight loss so you're ready for weight loss maintenance. You've practiced it. You know what it feels like, and you're able to put it into play. So we do an indulgence meal because we begin with the end in mind and we know we need to get there. A couple other reasons. An indulgence meal to me helps you get through the weight loss piece. I think so many people, if they are really strict and they never allow themselves to have something that they want, if they try to go all the way through being perfect, what typically happens is it kind of builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and in their mind they start to think, oh, I never get to have that. I never get to go out with my friends and have, appetizers or happy hour. I never get to really have this dessert that I really like. And it starts to build up that little poor me. And that's that victim mindset. That victim mindset that we are so against, right, in Stay Slim. We're all about being empowered in Stay Slim. So anytime that victim mindset starts to pop in, I want to try to get rid of it. I want to try to put it back to where it belongs, but in the back seat. So the indulgence meal kind of allows us to not allow that victim mindset to take over. And what I found is if people don't have an indulgence meal, it builds and it builds and it builds, and all of a sudden the pressure is so heavy, boom, they blow and they eat everything in sight, right? Or they even get off the program and it just ruins the whole thing. So I'm trying to not allow that to happen. And so each week with the indulgence meal, it's like you're letting off a little steam, right? You're letting off a little of the pressure. It's only 7 days till you get to have anything you want. And that's the key, anything you want. Larry kept asking me, really, anything? I'm like, anything, and that's important. But enjoy it and stop before you're stuffed. Right? And then get right back on track. And that's really the other thing, that the reason why I have an indulgence meal is that is a skill you need to learn. In so many of my patients, I see they're either on plan and they're perfect, or they're off. And when they're off, they can't get back on. It's like black and white. There's no gray zone. Indulgence meal is kind of where we practice getting back on track. So yes, you get to go out and you have exactly what you want. And then you get right back on track. And that's a skill. That's a skill that a lot of people don't have that we want to learn because we're going to need it in maintenance. Because in maintenance, you're going to have many indulgence meals, but you're also going to have some meals that are healthy. And so you're going to have to be able to figure out, how do I shift from an indulgence meal, something like birthday cake and a celebration meal, to a healthy meal, to a meal that's going to keep me at a healthy body weight. You're going to need to be able to switch back and forth, and so many people can't do that. So what are we practicing? We're beginning with the end in mind, and we're practicing that switch. We're practicing eating exactly what I want, enjoying it, trying not to get too full, right? And then the next meal being right back on. And some people really, really struggle with that. So one of the things I teach people is once you have your indulgence meal, you already have planned the very next meal you're going to eat, right? That's already planned, and that's a skill we do. So I think it lets off a little pressure. That's one of the reasons we do an indulgence meal. The other thing is it's a skill that we need to learn to be successful in weight loss maintenance. I also think it helps a little bit with metabolism. I think of the idea that you're not so restricted all the time. But the biggest thing that I think is really with the mindset. The idea that you're going through this knowing I'm never more than 7 days away, I don't feel deprived, I know I can have something if I really want it, and you're really letting off that steam that allows you to stay in weight loss longer and allows you to set yourself up for what you need to be and how you're going to need to tackle weight loss maintenance. So that's why we do the indulgence meal. Not a lot of published studies on it. I would say a lot of this indulgence meal, why I put it in, comes from anecdotal information, comes from 20 years of helping people be successful at losing weight and keeping it off, comes from my own personal struggles. So lots of reasons why I put the indulgence meal in, probably not as scientific as some of the other aspects of the Stay Slim program where there's actually a clinical trial or multiple studies that are published to support it. But I have found it very, very helpful. And when people have resisted, when they have just said, I'm not going to do it, Holly, almost always, at some point, there is a massive blow up and they're not learning the skills they need to succeed. So I always tell people, yeah, you might lose a few more pounds without the indulgence, but if you gain them all back in the end, is it worth it? Is it really, really worth it? We're losing weight and putting the skills in place to keep it off. And the indulgence meal is one of those things that I think is really helpful so that you can not just lose the weight, but you can keep it off. So what's the tidbit? What's the take home for you? I think that the take home for you is, if you are on a diet, any diet, to allow yourself to have a meal, but very much control it. And then the key takeaway, the thing I always tell people, the thing to practice is, if you get off plan, if you have an indulgence, or even if you get off plan, have that next meal planned. Don't just say, I'm going to see, don't say I'm just going to see what's going to happen, because I know that's not good. When you have your indulgence, already have planned the very next meal you're going to eat and make that healthy. So you learn to switch between indulgence foods and healthier foods. And that becomes something that's pretty easy for you, or something that you're used to, something that you practice just like any skill. The more you practice it, it may be very uncomfortable and hard at the beginning, but then it gets easier with time. So practice between having an indulgence meal and getting right back on track with a healthy meal. So I hope that helps. This is the end of week 3. Week 4 is going to be super exciting. Got some interesting things planned, some experiential learning that we'll talk about next week. So support them on their journey, and I will see you soon. Love y'all. Bye.